The morning sun filtered through the tall glass towers of Nova York, casting long silver beams over the city's main plaza. Hovercars zipped quietly above the streets, their magnetic drives humming softly in the air. Down at street level, Commander Marcus Hale walked at a steady pace, his boots making a solid, measured sound against the polished walkways. He was a tall man in his late 50s, his posture straight as if he were still on parade. His navy blue, United Earth Fleet uniform was perfectly pressed, each brass button polished until it shone. On his left breast, a row of medals told the story of decades spent in deep space service. His dark skin caught the morning light, and his short, neat hair carried a few strands of silver that only added to his presence. Marcus had not worn this uniform in public for a while. Since retiring from the fleet, he preferred simple clothes and quiet places. But today he had decided to wear it while running errands. To him, it was a symbol of his years of service, and wearing it was a reminder to himself of the discipline and honor he still carried. His destination was the Galactic Trust Bank, a large financial branch located in one of the busiest sections of the city. The building itself was an impressive piece of modern architecture, with transparent walls that shimmered faintly in the sunlight and security drones hovering near the entrance. Marcus stepped inside. The air was cool, and the soft sound of digital counters clicking echoed faintly in the background. Holographic signs floated in the air, guiding customers to the right counters for transactions, loans, and account assistance. At the far end of the room, behind a large curved desk, stood the bank manager. Elric Voss was a man in his early 40s, dressed in a sharp gray suit with a red tie. His hair was combed with precision, and his expression suggested a man who was used to being in charge. As Marcus approached the desk, Voss glanced up from his hollow screen, his eyes immediately drawn to the fleet uniform. A faint smirk appeared on Voss's lips. He tapped his screen to put it on standby and leaned slightly forward on the desk. "Well now," Voss said, his voice carrying a light but unmistakable tone of mockery, "that's quite the outfit you've got there. Haven't seen one of those. Old uniforms in years. You heading to a costume event or something?" Marcus paused, his eyes meeting the manager's without a hint of emotion. "No," he replied calmly. "I'm here to make an inquiry about my account." Voss chuckled lightly and glanced at a nearby teller as if expecting them to join in his amusement. Sure. Must be some nostalgia thing, right? Playing fleet officer for a day?" A young teller, a woman with sandy brown hair, shifted uncomfortably behind her counter. She seemed to recognize Marcus's name from the small nameplate on his uniform jacket. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to speak, but Voss was already continuing. "Look," Voss said, still wearing that smirk, "I respect the old fleet stories and all that, but times have changed. We've got advanced defense systems. Now, no need for those long, drawn-out space missions anymore. I guess wearing the uniform must make you feel important again." Marcus stood still, his calm expression never changing. His years of command had taught him how to handle moments far more intense than this. "The uniform," he said, "is not for feeling important. It is a record of service. That's all." The teller behind Voss gave a small cough and tried, again, to catch the manager's attention. "Sir," she said softly, "I think you should—" But Voss waved a dismissive hand without looking at her. "It's fine, Clara. I can handle a customer." Marcus gave a small nod and stepped a little closer to the desk. His voice remained steady, almost calm enough to hide the edge beneath. "I would like to see the details of my transaction from last week." "It concerns a rental payment." Voss leaned back in his chair and tapped his screen again. "All right, give me your account code." As Marcus recited the sequence, Voss glanced at the data scrolling on the display. His eyes flicked briefly over the numbers, then returned to Marcus. "Yep. Payment cleared. Anything else you need, Commander?" The title was spoken with a trace of sarcasm, but Marcus ignored it. "That will be all for now. Thank you." He turned to leave, but before he reached the door, Clara, the young teller, called out quietly, "Sir, thank you for your service." Marcus paused, gave her a slight smile, and nodded once before stepping out into the bright city streets again. Behind him, Voss returned to his screen, still unaware that the man he had mocked that morning was far more important to the bank's future than he could possibly imagine. Outside, Marcus moved through the crowd, his mind calm. He had learned long ago that not every battle needed to be fought in the moment. Some were best addressed with patience and timing. And this one, he suspected, would be addressed very soon. Marcus Hale walked along the wide street, the sounds of the city humming all around him. Bright transport shuttles glided overhead, their silver hulls flashing in the morning sun. Street vendors sold steaming cups of spiced calf, and digital billboards displayed colorful ads for new holofilms and planetary cruises. He moved with the same steady pace he had used on long marches during his years of service. The conversation with the bank manager still echoed faintly in his mind, but it did not disturb him. It was not the first time someone underestimated him because of his quiet nature. He had learned early in life that many people judged by appearance alone. As he walked, his thoughts drifted back to the Orion conflict, the last great war the United Earth Fleet had fought before peace had finally settled across the colonies. He had been a young officer then, leading a small crew aboard the UES Resolute. The Resolute was not the most advanced ship in the fleet, but it was fast and reliable, and its crew had trusted Marcus completely. In those years, deep space missions meant long months without sight of another friendly ship. Communications could be delayed for days or even weeks, and decisions often had to be made in the moment without waiting for orders from command. Marcus had learned to rely on careful planning, calm judgment, and the trust he had built with his crew. He remembered the rescue mission at Vera 9. The colony there had been caught in the crossfire between Earth forces and the Orion separatists. The planet's atmosphere was unstable, filled with storms of electrical energy that tore through shields and navigation systems. The Resolute had been the only ship close enough to attempt an evacuation. Marcus had guided his ship through the storms, personally taking the helm during the most dangerous hours. They had saved hundreds of civilians, and not a single member of his crew had been lost. It was moments like those that gave meaning to the medals now pinned to his uniform. Each one represented not just a mission completed, but lives saved, risks taken, and hard choices made. He had worn them with quiet pride during his years in the service, but never as a means to demand respect. Respect, he believed, was earned through actions, not symbols. When the war finally ended, Marcus had been offered a high-ranking desk position at Fleet Headquarters. Many officers took such roles, trading the uncertainty of deep space for the safety of an office, but Marcus had declined. His years in service had taught him that life was short, and he wanted to shape the peace he had fought for. He chose to retire with honor and begin a different journey. That journey led him into investments and infrastructure projects. He had a natural sense for strategy, and what he once applied to military operations, he now applied to business and development. Marcus began purchasing properties in growing districts, funding small technology companies, and helping rebuild colonies that had been damaged during the war. His approach was never loud or public. He rarely appeared in the news, preferring to let his work speak for itself. Over the years, his quiet investments grew into a wide network of assets. One of those assets was a set of buildings in the heart of Nova York, including the one that housed the Galactic Trust Bank. Marcus did not manage the properties directly. He had a skilled property management AI and a small team of advisors who handled the details. Still, he liked to review the reports himself from time to time. He believed it was important to know not just the numbers, but also the stories behind. The people and businesses renting his spaces. The bank in question had been a tenant for nearly 12 years. It was a profitable branch in a prime location. Marcus had met the previous manager once at a city council event, and the meeting had been polite, if brief. He had never met the current manager until this morning, when Elric Voss decided to judge him without knowing his history. That thought brought a faint smile to Marcus's face as he turned into a quieter side street. He was not angry, only thoughtful. Life had a way of showing people the results of their actions, sometimes sooner than expected. Passing a small park, Marcus stopped for a moment to watch children playing under the shade of tall, bioengineered trees. Their laughter was light and free, a sound that reminded him why he had fought so hard during the war. The peace they enjoyed had been bought with sacrifices, not just his own but from countless others across the fleet. He took a seat on a nearby bench and rested for a moment, letting the sunlight warm his face. A delivery drone whirred overhead, carrying a package toward one of the nearby towers. The city moved on, unaware of the quiet veteran sitting in its midst. Pulling a slim hollow pad from his pocket, Marcus opened the latest reports from his property management team. His eyes scanned the columns of rent payments, maintenance schedules, and occupancy rates. His attention paused when he saw the familiar name, Galactic Trust Bank, Nova York Central Branch. He noted the figures. The bank paid a premium rate for the location, and the lease was due for review within the next quarter. The thought stayed in his mind as he closed the hollow pad and stood to leave the park. As he made his way back toward the transport hub, Marcus considered how best to handle the matter. He had no interest in revenge. That was never his way. But he did believe in lessons, the kind that encouraged growth, respect, and better understanding between people. If handled correctly, the situation with the bank could lead to something positive, not just for himself, but for others as well. He boarded a public transport shuttle, taking a seat by the window. The cityscape of Nova York rolled past, with its towering spires, glimmering skywalks, and flowing streams of air traffic. Somewhere in that wide network of streets and buildings, the bank manager went about his day, still unaware of who had stood at his counter that morning. Marcus leaned back in his seat and let his mind settle. The path ahead was clear. There would be a time to act, but it was not today. Today was for reflection and planning. He would let the moment pass for now, knowing that soon enough, the opportunity to teach a valuable lesson would arrive. The following day, the Galactic Trust Bank opened its doors as usual. Morning light spilled across the polished floors, reflecting off the tall glass walls. Customers began to flow in, each moving toward their destinations, some to the teller counters, others to the consultation desks. The air was filled with the faint sound of digital chimes announcing completed transactions and the soft hum of the air filtration system. Elric Voss arrived precisely at 8:30. He liked to make an entrance, greeting his staff with a confident smile and a brisk nod. His gray suit was sharp as ever, his tie perfectly aligned. To him, appearances meant control. Control, he believed, was the key to keeping a branch running smoothly. Clara, the young teller from the day before, was already at her station, organizing transaction records on her hollow screen. She had barely slept the previous night, her mind still on the moment she had seen Marcus Hale in the bank. Clara had grown up hearing about the Orion conflict. Her grandfather had served as a communications officer on a supply ship. She knew the name Commander Marcus Hale well enough to understand the weight it carried. As Voss walked past her counter, she hesitated. "Sir, may I have a word?" she asked quietly. He glanced at her but kept moving toward his desk. "Make it quick. We have a busy morning." Clara leaned forward slightly. "The gentleman in the fleet uniform yesterday. I think you should know who he is." Voss waved a hand as if brushing away an unnecessary detail. "I remember him. Retired fleet officer, likes wearing old uniforms. Not important to bank business." Clara's brow furrowed. "It's more than that, sir. He's not just any officer. He's Commander Marcus Hale. He..." Voss stopped and turned slightly toward her. His tone remained casual, but there was a hint of impatience. "Clara, I appreciate your interest, but we deal with customers, not history lessons. Please focus on your accounts." Clara bit her lip and returned to her work, but the unease in her eyes did not fade. As the morning moved on, the bank grew busier. A steady stream of customers came and went, and the staff worked efficiently to manage the flow. Yet every so often, Clara's gaze drifted toward Voss, as if silently urging him to listen to her warning. By midday, the manager's office door slid open, and Voss stepped out to greet a visiting corporate representative. The man was tall, dressed in a dark business suit, and carried a sleek briefcase. They shook hands, exchanged pleasantries, and then moved into a private conference room. Clara caught fragments of their conversation as they passed. She heard the words lease review and property owner, but could not hear more. Her mind immediately jumped to the thought of Marcus Hale. Could it be connected? She was not sure, but the possibility stayed with her. After the meeting ended, the corporate representative left, and Voss returned to his desk looking thoughtful. He reviewed several documents on his hollow screen, his eyes narrowing slightly as he scanned the figures. There was a small crease between his brows, a sign that something was troubling him. In the late afternoon, Clara found herself assisting a customer who happened to be a retired fleet engineer. The older man noticed the bank's name on his transaction receipt and chuckled. "Interesting choice of landlord you folks have," he said. Clara tilted her head. "What do you mean, sir?" The man smiled. "You rent this place from Commander Marcus Hale, finest officer I ever served with. Always fair, always thinking 3 steps ahead. I heard he owns several prime spots in the city." Clara felt a jolt of certainty. She glanced toward Voss's desk, where the manager was focused on his work. If the engineer's words were true, then Marcus was not just an important figure from history. He was their landlord. The engineer continued with a warm smile. "He never talks much about himself. Lets his actions do the speaking. You can always tell the measure of a man by how he treats people, no matter their role." Clara finished processing the transaction and thanked the man for his time. She watched him leave, then decided to try speaking to Voss again. She approached his desk, her tone respectful but firm. "Sir, I think you really should know about yesterday's customer. Commander Marcus Hale isn't just a retired officer. He's the owner of this building." Voss looked up from his screen with a slight frown. "That's an interesting rumor, Clara. But I prefer facts. Even if it's true, it doesn't change how I handle customers. Professionalism is professionalism." Clara hesitated, then nodded, knowing she had reached the limit of what she could say without crossing a line. As the day came to a close, the last few customers departed, and the staff began shutting down their stations. The soft hum of the lights dimming signaled that the bank was closing for the evening. Voss locked his office and stepped outside into the fading sunlight. The city was alive with the soft glow of evening traffic, sky trams sliding between towers, and pedestrians moving along the walkways. Voss adjusted his tie and headed toward the transport hub, his mind already on tomorrow's tasks. He did not notice the faint shimmer of a discreet security drone hovering near the top corner of the building. It was one of Marcus Hale's property maintenance units, quietly monitoring the structure and its surroundings. Its sensors tracked foot traffic, environmental conditions, and even scanned for structural wear. Inside the drone's data relay, a notification was being prepared for Marcus's review. It contained routine building status reports and a brief note that the bank manager had met with a corporate representative earlier that day. Back in his private residence high above the city, Marcus sat in a quiet study, a cup of warm caf beside him. His holopad displayed the day's reports. His eyes rested on the brief note about the meeting. It was not unusual for tenants to meet with corporate representatives, but combined with what had happened the day before, it added another piece to the picture. Marcus leaned back in his chair. His expression was calm, but his mind was active, fitting the pieces together. Clara's attempt to warn her manager, the visiting corporate representative, the lease review, it all pointed toward a situation that might require his direct attention sooner than he had planned. The quiet hum of the city outside his window was steady, a reminder that time moved forward no matter what. Marcus knew that sometimes a lesson needed preparation, and sometimes it simply unfolded on its own. In this case, he suspected it would be a blend of both. For now, he let the matter rest, knowing that each passing day would bring the moment of clarity closer for those who still did not understand who they were dealing with. The next morning began quietly in Marcus Hale's high-rise apartment. The living space was neat, with large windows that offered a wide view of Nova York's skyline. Sunlight spilled across the room, touching the edge of a dark wood desk where a hollow pad rested. Marcus stood at the desk, sipping a cup of warm caf. He had always preferred to start his mornings by reviewing reports before the city became busy. His property management AI had already prepared the latest summaries of all his assets, buildings, business leases, and investments spread across several districts. With a single gesture over the hollow pad, the display expanded into a series of transparent screens. Each one showed a property name, current tenants, lease dates, and payment records. Marcus read each line with the same focus he had once used to study tactical maps during his fleet days. Near the middle of the list, one familiar entry caught his attention. Galactic Trust Bank, Nova York Central Branch. He tapped the name, and the details appeared. The numbers were precise. The bank had been a tenant for 12 years, occupying the ground and second floors of one of his most valuable downtown buildings. The rent was paid on time every quarter, and their location gave them high visibility in a prime commercial zone. The lease was due for review in 3 months. Marcus studied the data in silence. He thought back to the moment in the bank when the manager, Elric Voss, had mistaken his fleet uniform for some kind of costume. The words had rolled off him easily, but the memory still carried weight. It was not about hurt pride, it was about the way people judged without knowing the truth. His property management AI spoke through a calm, neutral voice. "Commander Hale, shall I begin preparing the standard renewal terms for the Galactic Trust lease?" Marcus set his cup down and considered the question. "Not yet," he said. "I want a full profile on the branch's recent performance, customer satisfaction reports, and management history. Include any notable changes in the last 5 years." "Understood," the AI replied. "Data compilation will be complete within 2 hours." Marcus closed the report and moved to the wide balcony. The air was fresh, carried by soft breezes from the upper atmosphere circulators. From here, he could see the street far below, the endless movement of people and transports blending into the rhythm of the city. His mind drifted to a lesson he had learned long ago in the fleet. Command was not just about issuing orders. It was about knowing when to wait, when to observe, and when to act. Many conflicts had been avoided simply because he had taken the time to see the full picture before making a decision. He intended to apply that same patience now. The bank's lease renewal was not just a routine matter. It was an opportunity to shape something larger. Later that day, Marcus met with one of his trusted advisors, a man named Alaric Stone. Alaric had been a logistics officer during the war and now worked as Marcus's senior property consultant. They met in a quiet corner of a sky lounge overlooking the harbor district. Alaric arrived carrying a slim case and greeted Marcus with a firm handshake. "Morning, Commander. I received your note about the bank. I assume this is related to your visit there yesterday?" Marcus gave a small nod. "I met their manager. It was an instructive interaction. I want to know more before we decide on the lease terms." Alaric opened the case and pulled out a portable holo projector. A soft blue light filled the air. Between them, displaying the bank's profile. The branch is profitable, Alaric began, pointing to a rising set of figures. Customer traffic is steady, and they've expanded their digital banking services in the last 2 years. However, I found a few weak points. Their community engagement rating is low compared to other branches. They've done almost nothing in terms of outreach programs. Marcus studied the chart. And their management? Alaric tapped the display, bringing up a profile of Elric Voss. Voss has been manager for 4 years. No major financial errors, but feedback from staff shows mixed opinions. He's known for being efficient, but also for dismissing input from his team. He's very focused on maintaining authority. Marcus's gaze stayed on the profile for a moment. That matches my impression? Alaric gave a small smile. Do you want me to prepare a strict set of renewal conditions? Marcus shook his head. Not strict, purposeful. If they want to stay in that location, they should contribute to the community around them. The rent is high because the building is valuable. That value should extend to more than just profit. Alaric leaned back. Understood. We can tie the renewal to certain conditions. Maybe a public program or partnership? Marcus nodded slowly. Something that benefits veterans. Financial education programs, career training, support networks. They have the resources. They just need the reason. The two men continued discussing ideas, shaping them into clear terms. Marcus kept his tone calm and measured, as he always did when planning something important. Every detail would matter. After their meeting, Marcus returned to his apartment and reopened the building management interface. He instructed the AI to begin drafting a conditional lease renewal, leaving room for a formal meeting with the bank in the coming week. That evening, as the city lights came alive in shades of gold and blue, Marcus stood at his window. From this height, Nova York looked almost peaceful, the traffic streams moving like rivers of light. He knew that at street level, things were far more complex. People hurried through their days, businesses competed for space, and countless decisions shaped the flow of life. In a few days, he would walk into that bank again, not as a customer making a transaction, but as the owner deciding its future. The conversation would be different, and so would the tone. For now, he allowed the city's quiet hum to fill the room. Preparation was complete. The next step would be taken face to face. 3 days later, the morning air in Nova York was crisp and clear. The rising sun lit the tall glass towers with a golden glow, and the streets below were already alive with movement. Marcus Hale stepped out of his transport shuttle near the front of the Galactic Trust Bank. This time, he was not alone. Beside him walked Alaric Stone, his trusted advisor, dressed in a dark, tailored suit. Behind them was Celine Ward, the district property agent who managed several of Marcus's commercial leases. She carried a slim case containing all the official documents for the building's lease review. The three moved together with a quiet sense of purpose. Marcus still wore his fleet uniform, every detail as sharp as before. He had not put it on to prove anything. It was simply what he chose to wear when facing situations that required clarity and respect. The bank doors slid open automatically as they approached. Inside, the cool air smelled faintly of fresh polish. Customers were already lined up at the teller counters, and a few staff members moved quickly between stations. At the center desk, Elric Voss looked up from his hollow screen. For a moment, he seemed surprised to see Marcus again, then quickly put on a professional smile. "Ah, Commander Hale," he said. "Back so soon? How can we help you today?" Marcus's tone was polite. "Good morning, Mr. Voss. I have a matter to discuss regarding this building. My associates will join us." Voss's gaze shifted briefly to Alaric and Celine. His smile tightened, but he stood from his desk. "Of course. Let's move to the conference room." They walked through a side hallway into a glass-walled meeting space. The city's skyline was visible beyond the transparent panels, but the soundproofing kept the room quiet. Voss gestured for them to sit, then took his own chair at the head of the table. Selene opened her case and placed a small hollow projector in the center. It came to life with a soft hum, projecting a series of glowing documents in the air above the table. "Mr. Voss," Selene began in a clear, professional voice, "we're here today to review the terms of the lease for this branch location. The building's owner has requested some adjustments for the renewal period." Voss's eyes flicked to the documents. "Adjustments? We've been paying the agreed rate without issue for years. I don't see why changes are necessary." Alaric leaned forward slightly. "The owner believes in ensuring that prime locations like this contribute not just to profit, but to the surrounding community. The new terms are designed to strengthen that relationship." Voss gave a short laugh, though it did not sound entirely comfortable. "That's an interesting approach. And who exactly is making these changes? I thought lease negotiations went through the property company, not directly from the owner." Marcus met his eyes calmly. "They do when the owner chooses to remain in the background. This time I chose otherwise." Voss looked at him for a moment as if trying to read his expression. "So, you're saying you have some influence over this process?" Marcus's reply was steady. "I am saying I own this building." The words hung in the air for a moment. Voss blinked, then sat back slowly in his chair. "You own the building?" Selene confirmed it with a nod. "Commander, Hale has been the registered owner for over a decade. All lease agreements for this property are signed under his authority." For the first time since Marcus had met him, Voss's confident posture faltered. He cleared his throat and glanced toward the floating lease documents, then back at Marcus. "I wasn't aware of that." Marcus's voice remained calm, without anger. "I know. Yesterday, you met me as a customer. Today, you meet me as your landlord. I don't hold grudges, Mr. Voss, but I believe in respect, both ways." Voss shifted in his seat. "I understand. Perhaps I came across poorly before. That wasn't my intention." Alaric spoke evenly. "We are not here to discuss past interactions. We are here to present the renewal terms." Selene tapped the projector, and the documents shifted to display the new conditions. "The rent will remain at the current rate," she explained, "but the renewal will require the branch to create and maintain a veterans support program. This includes offering financial literacy workshops, career transition guidance, and small business loan assistance for retired service members. Reports on these programs will be reviewed quarterly." Voss scanned the terms, his brow furrowing slightly. "That's quite a commitment. It's outside the usual scope of a banking branch." Marcus leaned forward slightly, his gaze steady. "It is within the scope of a community leader. This location is one of the most visible in the city. It has influence, and influence should be used for more than profit. You have the resources to make this happen." The room was quiet for a moment. Voss tapped his fingers against the table, clearly weighing his options. "If we agree to this, how soon would the program need to start?" Selene answered promptly. "Within 60 days of the lease renewal signing." Voss glanced between the three of them, then gave a small nod. "Very well. I'll need to discuss this with our regional office, but I see the potential value. If we proceed, I'll ensure the program is implemented properly." Marcus rose from his seat, signaling that the meeting was coming to a close. "Good. I want this to succeed. Not for me, but for those who gave their service and now deserve opportunities in return." Voss stood as well, his tone more respectful than it had been before. "Understood, Commander Hale. We'll be in contact soon." As Marcus, Alaric, and Selene left the bank, the morning sun caught the metals on Marcus's uniform, making them glint briefly. Outside, the city moved as it always did, fast, bright, and full of voices, but Marcus felt the quiet satisfaction of a plan moving forward. For him, this was not about winning or proving a point. It was about shaping something, lasting, something that would benefit others long after the conversation in that glass room was forgotten. The following morning, the Galactic Trust Bank opened its doors as usual. Sunlight streamed through the tall glass panels, glinting off the polished floors and the rows of holographic displays. Employees moved quickly to their stations, organizing transactions and preparing for the first customers of the day. Elric Voss arrived at his desk, adjusting his tie and glancing over the schedule. He had spent the previous evening thinking about the conversation with Marcus Hale and the terms presented for the lease renewal. The words Veterans Support Program kept running through his mind. For the first time in years, he felt a mixture of respect and unease, realizing the full scope of his oversight during his first encounter with Marcus. Clara, the young teller, entered the room with a quiet sense of anticipation. She had already briefed several staff members about Marcus's identity, though carefully, to avoid gossip. She understood that some of them had already encountered retired fleet officers before, but Marcus Hale's reputation was different. He was not just another veteran. He was a man who had earned distinction through courage, intelligence, and leadership. At precisely 9 o'clock, the bank doors opened again, and Marcus Hale entered, accompanied by Alaric Stone and Celine Ward. This time, the atmosphere in the lobby felt different. Customers glanced curiously at the fleet uniform, sensing an unusual presence, but they continued with their tasks. Employees, however, looked more attentive than ever. Voss rose from his desk as Marcus approached the main counter. His voice was measured, professional, but his usual confidence was tempered by awareness. "Commander Hale," he said. "Welcome back." Marcus acknowledged the greeting with a small nod. "Good morning, Mr. Voss. I am here to finalize our discussion regarding the building lease." The three walked toward the conference room again, this time with a sense of calm determination. The staff followed at a respectful distance, their curiosity evident. Marcus's presence carried authority that did not need explanation. As they entered the glass-walled meeting room, Marcus turned to face the staff members who had gathered quietly behind Voss's desk. His tone was clear and steady. "I want to address everyone here for a moment. This building is my property. I have leased it to your institution because I trust that it will be used responsibly. Respect, dedication, and service are values I hold dear, and I expect the same from all tenants." The employees exchanged glances, understanding the gravity of the situation. Voss, still seated at the head of the table, felt a quiet shift in the energy of the room. The confident authority he had assumed over the branch now felt different, softer yet stronger. Marcus's presence alone commanded attention. Marcus continued. "The branch has agreed to participate in a veterans support program. This initiative will provide financial literacy training, career guidance, and small business assistance to retired service members. These programs will be overseen and reported quarterly. It is not a matter of obligation alone. It is a chance to make a meaningful impact on the lives of those who have served our colonies." Voss straightened in his chair, now fully aware of the significance. He realized that his earlier remarks to Marcus were not only disrespectful, but also short-sighted. The realization weighed heavily on him, but he did not falter. Instead, he responded with genuine respect. "You are correct, Commander Hale," Voss said. "I understand now that my words yesterday were inappropriate. I apologize for any offense I may have caused. Your service and your contributions are clear, and I appreciate the opportunity to learn from this example." Marcus inclined his head slightly. "Apology accepted. What matters is that we move forward in a way that benefits the community and supports those who need guidance." Alaric Stone presented the final lease documents, confirming the terms for the Veterans Support Program and the continuation of the bank's tenancy. Voss reviewed them carefully, then signed each sheet. His earlier unease transformed into a quiet sense of purpose, as he realized this program could genuinely improve the lives of many people. The staff watched as Marcus Hale turned to address them one more time. Every person here contributes to the success of this branch. I ask that you embrace this new initiative with the same commitment and integrity you bring to your daily work. Leadership is not always about authority. It is about making choices that serve the greater good. Remember that your actions matter to the lives of others. A few employees nodded quietly, inspired by the clarity and calm strength of Marcus's words. Clara felt a sense of pride, knowing she had been right to try and help her colleagues understand the significance of who had visited their bank. Voss, now fully aware of his manager's role, spoke again. We will do our best to implement these programs effectively. I can see the value in contributing to the community and making a difference for those who have served. Thank you for your guidance, Commander Hale. Marcus gave a small, approving smile. That is all I ask. Lead with integrity, and others will follow. With that, Marcus, Alaric, and Celine left the meeting room and walked down the lobby. The employees watched as they passed, feeling a renewed sense of respect and admiration. Some whispered quietly to one another about the lessons they had learned, while others made mental notes about how they could contribute to the new programs. Outside the bank, the sun had climbed higher in the sky, casting bright light on the bustling city below. Marcus took a deep breath, enjoying the warmth and the calm after the meeting. He felt a sense of satisfaction, knowing that respect and leadership could create positive change even in unexpected places. Alaric turned to him. It went well, Commander. They understand now. Voss seems genuinely committed to the initiative. Marcus nodded. That is good. It is never just about authority. It is about the opportunity to guide, support, and inspire. The impact of this program will reach further than anyone realizes, Cellini added. The staff also responded well. I think they will embrace the changes faster than expected. Leadership sets the tone, and your presence made that clear. Marcus smiled faintly. Sometimes people need a moment to see beyond appearances. That is all it takes for understanding to grow. The three of them paused on the steps outside the building. Hover cars glided past, and pedestrians moved briskly along the sidewalks. Marcus watched the flow of life in the city, knowing that small actions often had far-reaching effects. A single conversation, a clear example, or a simple gesture could inspire countless others to do what was right. As they prepared to leave, Marcus looked back at the bank one last time. The glass walls reflected the sunlight, and inside, employees were already beginning to discuss plans for the new Veterans Support Program. The scene filled him with quiet pride. He had turned a moment of disrespect into an opportunity for growth, for service, and for meaningful impact. It was not about proving a point or seeking recognition. It was about showing that respect, leadership, and action could create a ripple that touched more lives than anyone could measure. Marcus Hale walked away from the bank, his presence leaving a lasting impression, one that would influence the community and the people he had just guided for years to come. Weeks passed after the lease renewal meeting at the Galactic Trust Bank. The Veterans Support Program began to take shape under careful planning. Clara and a few other employees volunteered to assist, organizing workshops and coordinating schedules. Their enthusiasm was evident, and word spread quickly across the bank's staff. Marcus Hale observed the progress from his office high above the city. He did not need to visit every day. His property management AI provided regular updates. Yet he occasionally stepped into the building to meet with program coordinators or to review reports in person. Each visit was brief, but his presence brought a sense of focus and purpose to the team. The first workshop was held in a conference room on the second floor. Retired service members from across Nova York attended, eager to learn about financial, management, career opportunities, and small business resources. Marcus watched from the back, his hands clasped behind him, listening to the presentations. Clara noticed him and felt a sense of pride. She remembered how she had tried to warn Voss about Marcus's identity weeks earlier. Now she saw the difference that respect and understanding could make. The staff approached the sessions with genuine interest, and the veterans were clearly engaged, asking questions and discussing their experiences with the trainers. Voss, who had initially been hesitant about the program, now embraced his role fully. He attended some workshops, offering guidance and occasionally sharing his own stories of leadership. The shift in his attitude was noticeable. He treated Marcus with genuine respect, understanding that leadership was not about authority alone, but about vision and integrity. One afternoon, Marcus walked into the main lobby of the bank. The sunlight glimmered across the glass panels, reflecting the activity of the day. Customers and staff paused briefly to acknowledge his presence. Marcus offered a nod, simple and polite, yet carrying a quiet authority that needed no explanation. Clara approached him with a folder of program reports. "Sir, the first month's sessions have been very successful. Attendance is high, and feedback is extremely positive. Many veterans have expressed that this program is helping them feel connected and empowered." Marcus glanced at the folder and nodded. "That is good to hear. Remember, the true measure of success is not just numbers, but the difference made in the lives of individuals. Every person who leaves with greater confidence, knowledge, or opportunity is a success." He looked around the lobby at the staff and volunteers moving with energy and purpose. It is easy to forget that small actions can have large effects. Leadership is about enabling those around you to do their best. The program is successful because the staff believes in it, and they will carry that belief forward. Voss appeared nearby, joining the conversation. "Commander Hale, I wanted to personally thank you. Your guidance has been invaluable. I have learned much from the approach you've taken. I see now that respect, clear expectations, and meaningful purpose can transform not just a team, but an entire community." Marcus gave a faint smile. "It is not about me, Mr. Voss. It is about creating conditions where others can succeed. You have shown willingness to change and contribute. That is what matters." Over the following weeks, the program expanded. More workshops were added, including mentorship sessions with professionals from different industries, technical training, and financial planning assistance. Veterans from multiple backgrounds joined the initiative, sharing their experiences and learning from each other. The branch gained a reputation for its positive impact, and more employees volunteered to assist. Marcus occasionally joined the sessions, offering advice and encouragement. His presence inspired the attendees and staff alike. People began to recognize the lessons embedded in his approach: patience, respect, vision, and action. Marcus did not demand recognition, yet the effect of his leadership was evident. Outside the bank, the city moved as always, busy and bright. Yet, in this corner of Nova York, change was visible. Veterans who had once struggled with uncertainty now found opportunities. Employees who had previously seen their work as routine now felt a sense of purpose and pride. Leadership, Marcus observed, was not about command alone. It was about the ripple effect of thoughtful action. One afternoon, after a particularly successful mentorship session, Clara found a quiet moment to speak with Marcus. "Sir, I wanted to say thank you. If it weren't for your example and for your actions, the program might not have had the impact it does now." Marcus looked at her, calm and composed. "The credit belongs to those who contribute every day, Clara. You and the staff made this possible. I provided guidance, but you carried it forward. That is what leadership truly is: empowering others to act." Clara nodded, understanding that the lesson extended beyond the program itself. Respect, patience, and integrity could transform not only interactions in a workplace, but the lives of people in the broader community. Voss approached, holding a small report. "Sir, attendance for the program has exceeded expectations. Several veterans have already moved into new positions, started their own businesses, or joined further training programs. Your insight and leadership have created opportunities that will last for years." Marcus smiled faintly. "That is encouraging. Growth and progress take time, but every step matters. These programs are not temporary gestures. They are investments in the lives of people who have served. That is what I value most." The day drew to a close, and the sun set over the city, casting a warm golden light across the buildings. Marcus stood for a moment on the balcony outside the bank, looking at the movement below. Hover cars glided past, pedestrians hurried along the streets, and the city continued its rhythm. Yet, within the walls of this building, change was happening. Quietly and meaningfully. Alaric joined him, observing the bustling lobby. "Commander, it seems your lesson has taken root. The branch is responding, and the community is benefiting. The ripple effect will continue." Marcus nodded. "Indeed, that is the goal. Leadership is measured not by how loudly it is heard, but by how deeply it is felt. Actions speak louder than words, and respect is earned through deeds, not appearances." As the lights in the bank dimmed for the evening, Marcus Hale stepped back, satisfied. The program he had introduced had exceeded expectations, not through force or command, but through example and opportunity. In the weeks that followed, the Veterans Support Program became a model for other branches across the city and beyond. Marcus continued to oversee his properties and initiatives, quietly ensuring that his values of respect, service, and leadership spread wherever he had influence. The story of the day at the bank, where a manager had once dismissed a veteran in uniform, became a turning point. It was remembered not as a moment of conflict, but as a moment of understanding, growth, and positive change. Leadership had triumphed, not through authority alone, but through clarity, integrity, and the simple act of treating people with the respect they deserved. And so, Marcus Hale walked forward, leaving behind a lasting impact on the bank, its staff, the veterans they served, and the community at large. His quiet example ensured that respect, leadership, and opportunity would continue to flourish long after the doors closed for the day.